The meeting to order for the day. First item on our agenda is approval of today's agenda.
Move approval with addition. With addition.
Second with the addition.
Motion and a second to approve the agenda with the additions. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Citizens to be heard. Any citizens that would like to be heard on any item that is not on today's agenda? Seeing none, approval of minutes from the September 17th meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the September 17th minutes. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Approval of payment of bills and vouchers.
Move approval. Second.
Motion and a second to pay the bills. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We have an employee recognition this morning. Lieutenant Chad Hagan. Come on up, Chad. He's always excited about this. Maybe not take a speech, I'm sure. Chad's got 25 years in the sheriff's office, and thank you, Chad. We appreciate your service for all those years. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Sheriff?
Thanks, Chad. So Chad's been with us for 25 years. He started the courthouse part-time, like a lot of us did back then. And he's kind of worked his way up the ranks at the sheriff's office. He spent time as a patrol deputy, and then he spent some time working in juvenile investigations, which that kind of takes a special person to do that particular job for some of the stuff they have to see and hear and talk to people about. So he did a very good job at that. In 2010, he was promoted to rank lieutenant, and he was assigned to the support services division for 9 years before moving to lieutenant of investigations. We all kind of kid Chad a lot about we really don't know what he does, and we honestly, we don't know what Chad does.
You guys can figure it out.
Chad does good work for us. We do appreciate having him here, and he's got a wealth of knowledge, and he spent some time on the Barnesville City Council, so he does have that experience behind him as well. So we do appreciate the work you do here. So thank you.
Thanks, Chad. Okay, next item, presentation on the 2019 bond referendum. Superintendent of Schools, Brandon Lewin. Good morning, Brandon.
Morning.
Welcome.
Morning. Thank you. I'll try to, which one's the best one to talk into?
Anyone that's
Anyone that's on, that would be all of them then. Okay, so I'll try to do my best to keep you up to speed here. I think you had the PowerPoint in your packet already. You have 3 handouts there. They kind of go along with the PowerPoint, and I'll take you on a history lesson how we got to where we are today, because I think that helps explain some of the things that we've done in the past to get to where we are today to hit November 5th. With some background. If everybody's okay, I'll get started. All right, perfect, thank you. And so back in 2000, I came to Moorhead in the summer of 2014, and there was a facilities master plan that was underway or was about to get started. And in that facilities master plan, there were really 3 components to the overall arching plan, and one was we had to solve our K through 8 enrollment growth, and I believe we sat here in front of you back in 2015 talking to you folks on the importance of the 2015 bond, or the $78 million, in terms of what we had to accomplish with that bond, and that was the construction of Horizon West, that was the construction of Dorothy Dodds, and that was the reconfiguration of our elementary schools, plus the safety and security additions that we've put on in those schools as well. So as a result of the 2015 bond, which was supported by our community, and we really appreciate that support, it was 65% that supported the $78.2 million in 2015, and what was accomplished is you can see the beautiful new school that's in the background. But we did reconfigure all our elementaries to go from a K5 to a K4, and we shifted to a 5-8 configuration at the middle school, which was a 5-6 in Horizon West and a 7-8 in Horizon East. And one of the other things that was really driven by the board was before we could solve our K-8 enrollment growth, we were all over the community in Moorhead with leased space. And as you're aware from being a home, I'm sure you're all homeowners, but you're also commissioners as well. And when you're leasing, you can never really get in front of any type of long-term debt or any long-term financial management in terms of strategy, right? Because it's at the mercy of someone else dictating what your ultimate rent is going to be. And so the board had a goal. They said, we need to eliminate leased property. And so when you look at the properties that we've acquired over the last, since 2015, we've acquired the Vista Center for Education, which is formerly the Globe Building. Those two programs that are in there now are Adult Basic Ed and our ALC. And before we could put them into this facility, they were in two different facilities throughout the community, and we were leasing those two facilities. Now when we acquired this facility, we took the same revenue and we used that revenue to now make a payment, which ultimately in 20 years we will own this facility. So we just flipped it from a lease to purchase, okay? And so ultimately we will control that outcome in 20 years. The District Operations Center, which was formerly the Muscatel Building, also will house our transportation, our building, property services, and our food service. Originally, that was the plan. And just to give you a little background, our food service department, who orders a bunch of food and it comes to us frozen, we didn't have the ability in our district to store a lot of frozen food, so we were pushing that over to Fargo and storing it in a large freezer there, and we're having our delivery driver run over there once a week to pick up some things and to bring it back. This facility now allows us to store food in our own freezer, so therefore we're not renting somebody else's space. The other thing that the other topic or the other conversation is our property services department never had a home either. And each of our building level head custodians just kind of had the district credit card and they would order things as they needed. And so one example we'll give you is for the first time ever with the acquisition of this facility, our property services department was able to order garbage liners. 2 times a year we did that, but we bought them by the truckload. And overall, just in garbage liners, by us being able to do that and then ship them out to the schools as they needed, we were able to save $18,000 in just garbage liners. So that facility, and then the third area that would be housed there would be our transportation facility. And our old transportation facility just around the corner over here could only hold 8 of our 26 buses. So now our new facility will be able to hold all our buses, all our vans. So now there'll be no more idling. Our equipment will last longer. We just find efficiencies there. And so that is the ultimate acquisition for us to move all 3 departments that never had a home under one facility. Then the fourth area that's getting constructed over there is district office. And why is district office getting constructed over there is because even with the addition of Dorothy Dodds in 2015, and we built these elementaries to accommodate 750 students. Currently, right now, our K-4 population with Dorothy Dodds online is just over 2,800, so we're less than 200 student capacity across K-4. So our ultimate plan is to convert Probsfield back to an elementary so we can avoid having to build a 5th elementary, and so we don't have to go back to the voters to build a 5th elementary. And I think that's important because now what that allows us to do is the third bullet point here, and that's exclusively focus on our 9-12 opportunity that's in front of us, which is addressing the adequacy and capacity of Moorhead High School. And does anybody have any questions so far? Perfect. And so when that came to fruition, we have our high school facilities task force that assembled last year. And last year at this time, they've met. It was a committee of 40 folks that was made up of staff, made up of community, made up of administrators, and made up of not just staff, but even a couple students were on that committee as well. And they really looked hard at 3 options. One was to rebuild on a new site, new high school, new area. There was the 2 high school option, and then there was the option that they ultimately settled on, which was building on the current site with the addition of a career academy, which originally wasn't ever on anybody's radar until we took a trip out to Bismarck and saw that career academy and saw how high functioning that was. And on the way back, I got a little nudge from a committee member that said, we need to do that task force in Moorhead, and we can do that in Moorhead. And so I encouraged that individual to throw it out there to the committee, and they did a dot drill, and 31 of them put a green dot on it saying that they supported it, and it went forward, and the board ultimately approved this recommendation that's in front of you to be now voted on in November. Moving forward, talking about the current Moorhead High is we look at Moorhead High and the challenges that we have in that facility, and one of the big challenges that we have is there's just a lack of access to natural light. So if you looked at the screen in front of you and you saw the areas shaded in yellow, those are the only areas in the building that have access to natural light. The rest of the building, which is shaded in gray, has 0 access to natural light. So when we call it first floor, traditionally most would call it the basement. A majority of our classrooms are in the basement, and most of our staff doesn't see daylight until they get to the end of the week, because they come to work when it's dark and they leave when it's dark. And I had one teacher say that she sees daylight Saturday morning for the first time all week long. So the other challenge that we have at Moorhead High is because of all the additions and the split level construction, there's 12 identifiable levels in that building where it changes how we can access that facility. So for folks that have accessibility issues, whether that's a senior citizen coming to watch an event, coming to watch their grandson or granddaughter compete or perform in a play, perform in the band, they have a hard time navigating through the facility, as well as our students with special needs. So those are represented, all those changes in levels, those are represented by the red dots, where you can see a change in level in that facility. And so currently, you can see those as being extreme challenges, and already we're short of space. We've converted 2 locker bays into classrooms. We've converted the activities office into classrooms and moved the activities office to the main office as a result of the 2015 bond. And then the security deficiencies that are at the high school, I believe there are about 27 access points in the high school facility itself. So these are the challenges that we have in the building, and these are with a successful November outing, these are the things that we'd like to address with the new facility. Looking at the new facility, this is what it could potentially look like in terms of conceptual design. You see the areas in tan or a cream color. It just depends on how you like to identify your colors, but those are the academic areas. And keep in mind, those academic areas, it's a 3-story facility, and then everything else that's common outside of the academic area is all on one level. And we would no longer be in the basement or in the ground in this facility. We would be out of ground, and this is what the plan would look like should we have a successful November. You'll notice that There's a large common area there. There's a defined entry there, whereas right now, the current Moorhead High, I've been told numerous times, you can't decide whether it's door 1 or door 13. I've been told it has an identity crisis in terms of where do you go? What is the door? What is the main entry? So the main entry is right there where it's shaded in pink. You'll see that's the administration area. And we've really limited the number of access points in this facility moving forward. I think it's gone from about 27 down to about 6. So we feel good about that. The other thing we feel real good about is now we'll finally have a separate entry or a separate drop-off and access point for our buses, where right now they are integrated right in with the parking lot as kids jump in and out between them. It's just a big challenge. And then on the east side of the building, where you see the football field and that road kind of come down, there's also a separate entrance for athletic teams when they come to compete against us on any given evening. They can park their buses on the east side of the building and have a separate entrance in, so we can take care of those folks in a different manner than we have in the past.
So Brandon, the student access would be there in the southwest quadrant there, is that the parking for students?
Yep, so the southwest parking is the access for students. We also would add parking on the east side, so where you see all that gray shaded area by the football field, that would also be new parking as well.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. And then we have a definite entrance for athletics as well. So if for instance you came to a football game and there was no parking in that area by the football field, you could park over in this area, walk through the building. We'll have it defined where you can cut through the building but not have to go in a major portion of the building to get to the football field or to access the sports center from here. Any other questions?
The Fine Arts Theater is, I assume, right there in the middle.
Yep.
In
So
yellow.
that's the that'll be the theater, which also opens up to the commons. So you see that commons now becomes the hub of the whole facility, where the competition gym has openings there. It also the academic wing, kids can flow in that way, and then you see where the lunchroom is there in blue, and all that building services are tied together in that area that's shaded blue. But the commons becomes the big hub for those big events that we hope to be having at the facility.
So you said it was 22 to 2,400 students. How far out do you foresee that being large enough, the high school?
Well, we're only talking the high school here. We haven't talked the Career Academy. So, I mean, when you add the Career Academy capacity in there, we'll have well over 3,000 student capacity. And that seems to be some of the confusion out there, is that, well, you're only going to build it for so big and it's going to be full in 5 years. Well, based on projections, after 5 years, I kind of throw them out the window. But there was about 2,400 is our estimate in 5 years for the high school. But when you add in the Career Academy serving anywhere from 300 to 700, depending on how that gets built out, we believe that we'll have plenty of capacity between the two facilities to address those. And there's just the rendering of it. And as you can see, we talked about the main entry up on the top. You see the animations there of those folks walking into the main entry. Jim, you asked about the theater. The theater is there with the big M on it. And then all the support space that go with the theater is that art area, or the arts area right to the west of that theater. And then you see the commons, which is the larger roof right there, is the center hub again of, you can see how all that's designed in there. And then looking at the second rendering on that page, you see the back of the academic wings, what those would potentially look like, 3-story academic wings. And again, you'll see the commons joining all of those things together and making that facility possible.
The elevated portion of the roof line there where the big M is, then that would be the fly system for the
Yes,
theater?
Yep,
Okay.
yep.
Great.
And I believe this theater already has an orchestra pit budgeted in it already.
Awesome.
So this will be one heck of a theater
Yeah.
when it's all said and done. Yep.
So Brandon, Fieldhouse and Sports Center are the existing, no changes to those?
Yes, there'll be zero changes to
Any
those.
other buildings that will be, or parts of the building that will be kept, or is it
Just
all
those two,
rebuilt? Okay.
just those two. So what we've done is, everything that's on the current site that's affiliated with the high school from an academic standpoint would be removed. And the main reason for that is because we wanted to get to one level, for the common space. So now if you have accessibility issues, we'll have the larger hallways, we'll have the, everything that's common on one same level moving forward, rather than all these variations out there, so. Any questions on that? I think it looks, I'm pretty proud of how that's turned out so far, so. And then this is the Career Academy, and keep in mind that we do have a lot of work to do here yet, so you don't see a lot of things being labeled, but we do have our pathways identified, and I don't know if in your package you could read those pathways that are in there, if the print was too small. But we do have pathways identified. We're just working through the process of identifying what courses could potentially fall under those pathways, and working with M-State to figure out how we can design things so we're not duplicating things. So we have willing partners in M-State. We have a willing partner, I believe, in another local school district that is very excited to be a part of this. So we believe that when this gets all put out there, keep in mind, this is about 132,000 square feet. And I believe in terms of size, it doesn't really look like it, but it's about the same size as Dorothy Dodd's, if I'm not mistaken. So we believe that if you can serve 750 students in Dorothy Dodd's, we know that some of these classrooms have to be bigger just by the nature of what we're going to be putting in there. But we think that we could serve up to 750 students here if we had to. And it might be 350 in the morning, 350 in the afternoon, but we believe we can serve quite a few students in this facility. So we always throw this slide in there because we want to talk about the value of growth in terms of tax base, which I think for you folks sitting here at the table, that's kind of like old news for you guys, but for others it may not be. But there is value in growth, and why we put that in there, because it kind of explains the impact that growth has had moving forward. So if we go back to 2015 and we talked about the $78 million bond, back in 2015, the average value home in Moorhead was $150,000. And the impact for that bond was just about $9 a month. And when we look at now, the $200,000 home is the average price home in Moorhead, and now it's a $110 million bond. Because of the growth, that impact now is $8 a month. So just under $96 a year for this on the average price home in Moorhead. So I just wanted to share that with you moving forward. And then,
Brendan,
yep, go
the
ahead.
bond years is for what, 20 years or
This bond is for 25.
25?
Yep,
And the prior bond was how long?
20. And the reason we went to 25 was to try to keep that impact down, obviously, and understanding that with the master facilities plan, this is really the last project that we have on that master facilities plan. And with us being able to do what we've talked about with Probsfield, we believe that we've created enough capacity in our K4 without having to go back. So we felt like if we went to 25 years to keep the tax impact down, that we wouldn't have to come back, unless Moorhead grew exponentially beyond what we believe the projections to be. We believe that we handle it with this one and what we're doing internally with our own moves, that we think we've created the capacity to allow us to focus on this, and this will be our last project for some time. So, some more opportunities. If you want to see the Moorhead High School, we are offering community tours of the facility. One is this Friday, October 4th at 6 p.m., Thursday, October 17th at 7 p.m., and Tuesday, October 29th at 7 p.m. And if you really are excited about this presentation and you want to see it again, you have two opportunities. The State of the District, October 24th. If you're interested in coming to that, please register with our community ed department by RSVPing at that number there, or going online and registering. Or if you happen to be at the library on October 10th, we'll be there too. And we would look forward to seeing you at any one of those two informational sessions or the community tours of the high school. With that, I can't tell you how to vote, but I can encourage you to vote if able. And this is the vote. Vote on November 5th. Polls will be open 7 to 8 p.m. And I would highly encourage that you check out the polling places, because there could be some confusion, as the Moorhead City Council has 2 seats open in one in Ward 3, one in Ward 4. And so that if you're an absentee ballot voter and you live in Wards 3 and 4, you have to turn in your absentee ballot to the city. And if you're in Wards 1 and 2, you have to turn them in to us at district office. So just make sure that, number one, you know what precinct you live in, and then where you would have to turn in your absentee ballot if you were an absentee ballot voter. Or also, if you live in Wards 3 and 4, know where you're going to be voting on that day, because they have more voting locations than what we do as a special election. So I just want to try to avoid any confusion there that we would potentially have with the vote on November 5th. So,
Good.
any questions?
I have just a couple
Yeah,
questions.
Kevin.
So Brandon, what is the length of construction time planned, and how are you going to deal with the high school students during that construction?
Okay, so good question. I'll take you back through this. And this was an incredible thought process on this. So if you took the edge of the sports center, if I had a pointer, I'd point, but.
Okay, I think we know where that
So if you take the edge of the sports center on the north side and you just run that line and you go straight to the west,
looks like a corridor there.
and you kind of see where I have that main hallway, and it just kind of bisects between what I would consider about 85% of the construction project. We can construct 85% of this construction project and still have class going on in the regular high school.
Okay.
So then what will happen is we'll have everything constructed on the academic side.
Okay.
We'll flip the kids over, and then we'll tear down the current structure and rebuild the remaining 15%. And then we'll also have the Career Academy opening a couple of years prior, so we can work out any scheduling kinks that there might be, because those two schedules, now that we have two facilities, they really do have to talk to one another. But this construction, if passed in November, we would take care of all the site work. If we talk about all the parking, that would be the summer of 2020, but we wouldn't start construction because of all the design work that we have to get approved, and the Department of Labor and Industry has to approve everything for the codes and everything else. So we wouldn't start the construction until the following summer, so the summer of 21. That'd be probably a 2-year construction schedule. then we would come back and it would take us about a year to construct the other 15%, which includes the theater and everything else.
The Career Academy, you could start whatever you need to do in that much sooner, though.
As soon as we finalized the design and we knew where we were going, yes, we could do that, and that is scheduled to open a few years prior to this facility, yes, correct.
I'm going to just give a little editorial on the Career Academy. I think that's a fantastic idea.
I tell you, Kevin, I didn't come up with that one. So
Well, whoever did, congratulations to him.
I
because
will let him know.
You know, when we deal with, we have severe workforce issues. And I think there's a lot of people who maybe aren't ready for a four-year college education and beyond. But there are so many skilled trades available right now that you can have excellent income levels on. And this Career Academy, I think, could be a game changer for a lot of people to see what's available to them. And I know one of the presentations I got, I think the biggest hurdle is going to be in getting parents to recognize that.
Well, I think one of the things that we hope to do in Moorhead, we realize that, but I think our goal is to get our 9-12 house in order with the Career Academy, and then gradually build programming in the younger grades as well. So then it's not just a 9-12 program. We're looking at this holistically from a K-12 perspective. But we've got to get the 9-12 house in order first and kind of go back, go backwards. I don't want to, backwards is a bad word to use, but we want to go and build it 9-12, 7-8, 5-6, K-4. And eventually when we have all those pieces in play, then I think we could go a long way towards addressing potentially some of those concerns that a parent may or may not have with that.
I guess I get, my issue, I think, with, what I meant about parents is I think most parents think their kids all have to go to a four-year college or better.
No, I had the impression that's where you were going.
And I think
but I think as we get them in young and we can see that we turn them on to a different type of learning per se, I think a parent would just naturally go along with that because their kids are really enjoying the experience, right? And so I think by doing what we've talked about, we're trying to address that from a K-12 approach, which hopefully then takes away that, I don't want to call it a stigma, but it takes away that, you know what I mean?
In a way, it is a stigma.
Yeah.
But I think so much has changed from the standpoint of career incomes. When you look at, I remember when I was younger, if you were a welder, and you might have made a few bucks, but now there's a lot of these positions, welders, electricians, plumbers, and all those, they're a good career paying job, I guess is what I'm getting at. So,
Absolutely.
yeah, thank you.
Any other questions for Brandon?
Brandon, can you talk quickly about the security piece? So,
Absolutely.
I attended Moorhead High, and I think a couple of us did, but, so I get that there are a ton of access points, and I have children that go to Horizon West now, so I understand how you have these kind of pillars of pods, so to speak, and how you really cut down on access points. And so can you talk a little bit about how that played into your build?
Well, one of the design drivers was we wanted to continue to improve the safety and security of the potential new high school. And by having a clear defined entry and a defined drop-off for busing and picking up now, we feel like we were really able to do that. Just by this design alone and getting every room natural light in this new design, that was one of those design drivers where we had to greatly reduce the access points, because if we didn't, we're just creating the same problem we have at the old facility. So by going from 27 to 6, that was a main driver behind this design, so that's why you see much less access points. And when you do design it this way, you'll notice, like, so for the sports center, for instance, if you needed to access during the day, in the rendering, it had its own entry. And we can control those entries and not just let them in, during the day, but how we design those hallways and how we design doors to close and not give the general public access, at the same time letting them into a building like that might be open during the day. So that was one of these well thought out parts of the design that took safety and security into consideration greatly moving forward.
Thank you.
I just look at one thing, I mean, I'm not a resident of the Morat district, but
Yep.
I go there quite a bit for sporting events.
Yep.
And I'm just looking at now where your competitive gym is and where your parking is at. It looks to me like there's gonna be a long walk for everybody for parking now. Is there any consideration for more parking on I don't know if you can get any more parking on the north side, but I just look where you have to park now to get to the gym. You have to almost walk to the school from one parking lot and,
Well, if you parked on the west side
Yeah.
of the facility, you come in through the administration door, which looks probably further than what it is, because that hallway from the administration to get to the commons, then the gym will be right there. I don't think it'll be any more difficult to access than what we currently have right now, because if you're on the current site and you come in through door 13,
you still have a long
you
walk.
still have a long walk. You'll have to go up different flights of steps, and if you have some accessibility challenges, you'll have to get into our freight elevator to get up to the floor where we're at right now. So I don't, I think the walk might be similar, but the access would probably be a little bit easier.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brandon.
Thank you, Brandon.
This is, I think that looks like a great project, and I think everybody should know and more, this is not something the school district takes lightly. It's been many years. I know for a fact the last time the high school was built, because I graduated from it, I was the first class to graduate in 1968, so it's been a while. I hate to
Just-
date myself
just 10
like
years
that.
or so.
Yeah. So,
And
Thank you.
what did I hear when, in 15, your projections were how much in that, is it fourth grade, your huge class, or fifth grade?
Fourth grade is our largest class right now.
Right.
And that, when they started with us that year in kindergarten, that was the year we had every kindergartner at Probstfield.
Yep.
And that was also the same year, I believe, about 2015, when the year of the vote. And that class came in at around 620, I believe. And it hasn't dipped below 600, so it's at 608 right now, I believe. And our incoming kindergarten class opened at 602. And I think that has now settled at around 598.
But
So-
when they built the high school, what was your class? Do you remember?
about 425
So
when
it
I
was built with
graduated,
those
so-
sizes.
Yeah, so I think the other thing to keep in mind, and I wasn't here in 2001 when the 2001 bond was out there for $64 million to build Horizon and SGR. I think the district's goal was that the class size, because they were in decline, and I think the district's goal was that we would settle on a class size of about 450. And we're graduating one of our last two cohorts in the 400s, and we've since replaced them with class sizes of 500 or better. So
Thank you.
Growth helps.
growth helps. You gotta manage it.
Good.
We like doing that. So,
Thank you. Thanks
Thank
for
you,
coming.
guys.
Good
Appreciate it.
presentation. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Brandon.
Thank you.
Let's see, request to adopt resolution 2019-33, sale of tax forfeit property. Nancy. Good morning, Nancy.
Fortunately for us, we only have one property this year so far. This is all we're gonna have. I'm asking that the board approve the tax forfeit sale list so I can publish and offer it to the city of Felton if they choose to have it. The prior owner will have up until the time of sale to repurchase the property if he so chooses.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2019-33.
Second.
We have a motion to approve the request and the resolution. Any further discussion or questions for Nancy? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Thank you,
Thank you.
Nancy. Lakes Country Service Cooperative Board nominations. Steve?
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. As you're aware, Commissioner Campbell, part of his committee assignments is being part of the Lakes Country Service Cooperative Board of Directors. His term is coming up at the end of this year, and Lakes Country is accepting nominations through the end of the month for the next four-year term. And if the board would be interested in having Commissioner Campbell again up for a nomination to serve, this board we'd be looking for this board to put forth that nomination in the third page of the Lakes Country nomination petition.
Have you been on 4 years already?
No, I was elected by the board to fill the vacancy from, Tom Have when he resigned, so.
Well, I can say that I think that's really beneficial for us to have someone on this. I think that there are a lot of important conversations that are had, so I appreciate our having someone present on that. So I'll make a motion to approve Commissioner Campbell, or nominate Commissioner Campbell to that.
Second.
Motion and a second for Commissioner Campbell to serve on the Lake Country Service Board. All in favor, or any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Thanks, Steve.
And I have to do a resume.
Yeah.
You got that ready for me?
Joel, come on up. A review of conditional letter of map revision, Clomar, for FM area diversion project. Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me this morning. I really appreciate the opportunity to be able to be here in this new capacity as executive director. I'm going to go over the conditional letter of map revision with you folks. We'll look at some maps. I'll give a brief update of the diversion project, and then I'll kind of open it up for any questions that the board may have. So first, what is a CLOMAR? I just want to make sure everybody is clear. A CLOMAR it's an acronym that FEMA uses, and it stands for Conditional Letter of Map Revision. And so what this pertains to is the flood insurance rate maps that are currently in effect. I think you folks are all familiar with those. Those rate maps basically determine the risk of flooding for buildings and structures within Clay County. If you're in the 100-year floodplain, you are required by your lender to have federally backed flood insurance on your structure if you have a mortgage. If you do not have a mortgage, it's up to the homeowner if they want to purchase flood insurance or not. But the risk is indicated on the flood insurance rate maps. What we're doing with the diversion project is significantly changing the flood insurance rate maps. And so as we move through the process, we work with FEMA to show what the impact to those flood insurance rate maps will be once the project is fully completed. And so what this is the conditional letter of map revision is our process of giving the modeling and the new mapping to FEMA and going through the process of getting their okay with what those maps will look like once the project is fully implemented. So this process right now, where we're at today, the CLOMAR does not revise the existing flood insurance rate maps that are currently in effect right now. All it does is it allows FEMA to comment on our proposed future rate maps. So why is it so important? The conditional nature of the CLOMAR is really the best assurance for us, local entities, that when the project is designed, it will be accepted by FEMA. The new maps will be accepted by FEMA. So what we'll do here is we'll submit all our hydraulic models. and it'll assist the permitting agencies and the diversion authority with determining where property rights will be required. So this is really the final determination of our impacts to the floodplain, and it will allow us to more definitely approach the mitigation of landowners that are negatively impacted, with the assurance that FEMA concurs with our hydraulic models. So this map here shows the changes to the floodplain, both on the Cass County side and the Clay County side. I know it's zoomed out a little bit, but the project is of such magnitude that it's difficult to really focus on any one area. But I think the board can see the Red River there. The dark blue areas are existing 100-year floodplain areas that will not change. They'll continue to be within the 100-year floodplain. There are no changes. So I'll just note a couple locations up north where the diversion channel connects back in with the Red River. Very little changes are happening around that area. So the existing floodplain maps around Georgetown are basically not changing. Okay, sure. And I'll also note that a significant portion of the floodplain on the North Dakota side being taken out around Fargo is really congruent with about 98% of the impacts for this project, or 98% of the benefits. You can see on the Minnesota side, significant floodplain impacts are being taken out within the city of Moorhead and then south along the Red River until you reach the southern embankment structure. And those impacts are approximate to 2% of the benefits. That 98%, 2% split between North Dakota and Minnesota was really one of the items that was discussed quite heavily during the governor's task force. And the state of Minnesota wanted to see the impacts from this project to be equivalent to the benefits. And so the changes with the Plan B have been focused on providing 2% of the impacts to the Minnesota side with 98% of the impacts to the North Dakota side. And primarily those impacts are being felt in the southern part of the county, adjacent to the southern embankment. And I do have a map I can zoom in on to show those. The blue hatched area is the new floodplain once the project is fully implemented. So you can see all of those new floodplain impacts are upstream as designed by the project. And then the green hatched area, of course, is the area of floodplain that's being removed because of this project. So the new map will look, the new flood insurance rate maps will basically be the entirety of the blue area that you see right now. The green area will all be removed. So of concern, obviously, to the Diversion Authority and to Clay County are the impacted areas that currently do not have 100-year floodplain impacting their property, but will have 100-year impacts on their property after the project. In these areas, this is a zoomed in area of the southern embankment as it crosses the Red River, right around the Butcher Block area, if you're familiar with that in southern Cass County. That's where the diversion, or the Red River control structure will be located. As the southern embankment crosses the river, then it goes adjacent to Wolverton Creek until it hits Highway 75, and then goes south along Highway 75 and curls around Comstock. And those changes were implemented after the governor's task force, and this is the new Plan B alignment for the southern embankment. And what that does is it essentially push more water onto the North Dakota side, but we're still seeing impacts to these parcels on the Minnesota side in Clay County. In town, I don't have a good zoomed in picture. I just wanted to note with most of the in-town work has already been completed by the city of Moorhead. There are 2 areas that are of significant concern. One is being worked on in North Moorhead with the current city of Moorhead in-town flood control project. The other area is a significant portion of 100-year floodplain in the southern portion of the city that is really, with this project and with Moorhead's in-town work, will be taken care of eventually. But that floodplain exists and will remain until a few homes that are in the levee are purchased during opportunistic buys. So just a few closing comments, and then I'll open it up for questions for you folks. We're continuing to work with FEMA to incorporate comments into the hydraulic model in order to achieve the Clomar approval. So I'll be meeting with all the political subdivision entities that are impacted by our project and explaining the Clomar process just like I'm doing today. And those meetings will take the course of the next few months to complete, and then we'll take all of our information, submit it to FEMA for the Clomar approval process. We're continuing to work with state permitting entities on determinations needed to define upstream mitigation areas. On the Clay County side of things, the Buffalo Red Watershed District contested case hearing has really held us up as far as getting determinations from the state on mitigation that we need to do with the full upstream pool area. So until those get cleared up, there's still going to be quite a bit of ambiguity as far as what we can do to mitigate some of the landowners upstream on the Minnesota side. On the North Dakota side, we're expecting a determination from the State Water Commission on the mitigation effects for Cass County within the month. So we'll be able to start working on working with those landowners to determine mitigative costs that for land right purchases from them. But until on the Clay County side, until we get some resolution to the Buffalo Red contested case hearing, we really can't do much other than what the MIC board is doing with opportunistic easements and purchases that come available. Construction along the southern embankment in Cass County is continuing. In-town construction is continuing in Fargo and in Moorhead. The contested case hearing, as I mentioned before, that process will be concluded before the next legislative session.
North Dakota legislature.
The next North Dakota legislative session, sorry. And what that's going to allow us to do is go back to the North Dakota legislative session to request the GAP grant funds that we need in order to make the financial plan whole. And right now we're estimating that to be about $120 million. The Minnesota funding process is underway with the legislature. We had an opportunity to discuss with the House members when they came for their House bonding tour a little bit about the diversion project, the request that the MIC board made for $40 million, or will be making, but that is public information, and then the request that the city of Moorhead has made for $46 million. Those dollars will ultimately go through the Minnesota DNR Flood Hazard Mitigation Grant Program. And so we'll be working with the DNR and the state legislature to discuss increased flood funding for the Flood Hazard Mitigation Grant Program through the state of Minnesota. So with that, I'll open it up for questions that the board may have.
Thanks, Joel. Questions for
Have you had the new DNR commissioner here to tour the project?
We have not yet. So we have discussed the project briefly with her over the phone, but we would really like to get her here and do a tour of the project. I haven't, of course, I'm only 4 weeks into this role, so I haven't had a chance to reach out to all entities. But I did talk with the MIC board. I am planning a trip to St. Paul where I'll be meeting with the Corps of Engineers, hopefully the DNR, as well as some potential legislative meetings if we can get them set up. So.
Anything else for Joel?
Thanks for the update.
Yeah.
No problem.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Joel. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joel.
Mr. Executive Director, part of today's discussion also was to have permission for our, you want to mention that quick?
Yeah, so there, with the Colmar submittal process, each political subdivision has the right to concur on the process. A lack of concurrence will not hold up the process, but we did request that Matt, being the floodplain administrator for Clay County, provide concurrence on the Colmar. I don't know if it necessarily needs board approval or direction, but you certainly could vote to concur or tell me not to concur. I'll leave it up to the board. I think it's, we're asking Matt for the concurrence, but obviously I don't know the internal processes that you would like to provide direction to Matt.
Like I said, it's a formality thing with FEMA, whether or not you need it or not, but I would move that we concur.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Thanks, Joel.
Thank you.
Thank you.
West Central Regional Juvenile Center items, James. Morning.
Morning, Mr.
Morning.
Chairman, members of the board. I'm here with Dustin Berg. He runs up our treatment program. He does a very nice job, and he's responsible for writing the grant that we're going to be requesting to accept. I'd first like to start by asking to rehire the secretary position at the Juvenile Center. It's in our 2019 budget.
Any questions for James on that item?
Is that position vacant right now?
She has one more week left.
I guess we're,
So are you going to be advertising for that position then, or?
I think that there's some people internally that are interested in it.
well, I think if it's something that you can do internally right now, I think that's fine. We're kind of in a position right now, between now and the end of the year, where new hires,
Yep.
in all honesty, we would like to get them under the new
Yep.
compensation and benefits package. So if there's a way that you could do this with a current employee, I think that would work out good. And then but I think if we're gonna have to go outside, is there a way that we can somehow manage that till January 1? I'm asking you that.
I think we can I think this position is going to be difficult, but I think for the ones that it could be done, but for the positions that I'm going to be asking for, I was going to wait until way after January 1. But for the secretary position, it kind of runs a lot with our billing and income, and then without having a consistent person there doing it, it's going to draw me into
Okay.
doing all that.
Okay, well, I don't want to put you in that kind of a bind either, but I think if you can find somebody internally to do that, then that would be the preference, I guess.
Yeah, try and work it out that way, James.
Yeah,
Or keep
If
and,
not, could they go with the temp?
huh?
If not, could they go with the temp
Yeah, that's another, just,
till January 1st?
yeah, I just, I think we're really trying to, the sooner that we can get everybody onto this whole new plan, the better off we're all gonna be.
If you
So-
find somebody internally for this job, and then whatever job they've had, and maybe you can find a temp to take their spot.
Yeah,
until-
I believe I could find a temp that
Yeah.
will work.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep. Thank you.
So, and I don't know, I think if that's the case, I would move that we authorize you to, if you can replace it internally, to go ahead, and Commissioner Moser, you stepped out, and I think what we're talking about here is, you know, for all new hires, we're trying now to get them to fall under the new plan January 1. And so anything that we can do to, anyway, I got a motion out there, so.
Second.
Motion and a second on the request. Any further discussion or any questions for James on this? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries.
Thank you. And then I'll turn it over to Dustin to explain the grant that he got.
Thank you. Over the past year, we've been working with Minnesota State Community and Technical College and Lakes Country Service Cooperative collaboratively to determine resources and services we can provide to the youth that we serve. A couple of different things that we've done while collaborating over the last year we've been able to provide the youth that we have at our facility with different career assessments and personality assessments. That's the first thing I want to talk about. We've been providing to our secure residential program youth the Myers-Briggs type indicator and strong interest inventory surveys that has been able to show the youth that we have, their personality types and potential career options that they could serve, that they could research using their personality types. M-State and Lakes Country have been providing those assessments to us. And one thing we would like to do moving forward is to have 2 of our counselors in-house be trained to provide those assessments so we can have ongoing assessment serving and not overload M-State and Lakes Country with that. Another thing we've been doing in collaboration with these organizations we have been working on a transitional living curriculum that we have had in the past, but we have been developing it even more so that it's more interactive. It provides people with tangible things that they can take with them once they leave our program. Working with these 2 organizations, I talked with them about this grant, and when I applied for the grant originally, I was approached by someone at the grant office that had already given a grant to a program in Duluth to develop a transitional living curriculum through Perkins dollars. They connected me with them, and they would like us to meet with them on several occasions to help develop our program, since they've already developed a program using a grant fund. So with this grant, we would like to have 2 of our counselors go down and be certified so they can provide these assessments to our secure residential program as well as our transitional living skills program when that opens in 2020. In addition to that, we would like to be able to send staff to Duluth to collaborate to develop this curriculum so we can have something in line with what the state is already looking for and something that's already been determined to be successful.
Great.
Great work.
Questions?
I think it's a great way to collaborate with a local university, and congratulations on getting the grant. And so I will make a motion to approve, or request the grant, or accept the grant.
Yeah, I'll second that
I
motion.
can't speak, apparently.
You know what, I think you should, how much was that grant?
It's just shy of 15,000.
Okay. Good work.
Yeah, great work.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions for these fine gentlemen? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries.
Thank you.
Good work, guys. Appreciate it.
Is that primarily for the secure?
It's about a 50-50 because our transition program will,
Okay, it's both.
it'll be both, yeah.
Good.
Maybe give a little report on that on the 17th too, if you would. I'm sure if you want to bring them on.
I will.
It's up to you. Thank you, Dustin.
Darren, come on up. We have the agenda addition, an update on union negotiations.
All right, thanks for fitting me in today. It's been a pretty wild and crazy couple weeks. I wanted to give you an update on where we are with all the contract negotiations without getting into too much detail on what would be considered a closed meeting. But we have met with all of the unions, and I just want to read through the list on where we are with everybody. The deputies, that was a reopener. They voted and approved on the MOU for the benefits, and I should get signatures today from the chair and county administrator. I've got the signatures on the rest of them. The attorneys is also a reopener. That was finished, voted and approved on, and that has been signed by all parties. Social workers, case aides, and detox, they were all reopeners. They have all been voted and approved on, and I have all signatures for all of them as well. The lieutenant's MOU has been signed, and I'm awaiting the final contract, which I actually just got this morning while I was sitting back there. So I'll print that off and get that signed as well today. Correctional officer, or I'm sorry, highway, they have signed the MOU, and we are still in some final contract negotiations with them. Nothing really big, just some wording in the contract that isn't going to stop anything, but the MOU has been signed already, and then that'll be incorporated into their actual
I
contract.
mean, the
as well.
MOU for everybody's, that deals with the
Benefits reopener, and then the new county contribution for singles hired after January. Yeah, exactly. Correctional officers, we have a tentative contract agreement with them, and their MOU will be included in the contract. I believe they are voting on that tomorrow, so I'm assuming that hopefully we will get signatures from that by the end of the week.
Which one was it?
That was correctional officers. Correctional sergeants have also signed the MOU, but we are still in final contract negotiations with them. So we haven't finalized those contract negotiations yet. We'll probably have to have one more meeting with them, but they have signed the MOU already. So, and those that we still have open contracts with, we're all notified that that nothing will go into effect until the contracts are signed. So there's just one group that has not signed the MOU? everybody has.
Everybody has signed.
The correctional correctional officers, we won't need to sign the MOU because the MOU will be incorporated into their contract itself. So that will be in there once they sign that contract.
So, Mr. Chair, just one, for the ones who still have some outstanding issues, by signing the MOU, that's locked into whatever future contract is
Correct.
signed, is that correct?
Correct. Yep.
And they
we were.
they can't take that back.
Right, we were, as you know, we were in this time crunch of trying to get everything done and
Right,
signed
right.
and agreed to before open enrollment
Right,
starts
right, right,
in
right.
a couple of weeks.
Okay.
And so the ones that we thought we were still going to be negotiating with the, through the open enrollment, we had them sign the MOU. So the MOUs were signed in that regard. And then all of the open contracts that are open now should all be done by the end of the year, and that MOU language will be in the actual contract. Next year, when these other contracts come open, we'll add that language into those contracts as well. So the last point is that lieutenants were the first one to sign their new contract and agree to it. All we need are signatures now, and we had negotiated a 2% with them for 2022, as the board was requesting. So, barring any questions.
Any questions?
Well, I think our previous discussion was, I think the critical piece that you were looking for was some decisions for open enrollment.
Right.
And I think what we said at that time was to proceed as though this would be done.
Yep.
I think based on what you've done now, I think you can even move forward with a greater degree of certainty.
Jennifer will be happy to hear that.
So I put that out there. I don't know that we need to act on that right now, or Stephen, what do you?
I guess I would prefer the board would act on setting then for 2020.
And once the contracts are done, I can come back and actually go over those as well. But for the benefit piece that we were looking for the open enrollment, that's been pretty much completed.
You know, I guess as long as the MOU makes it certain about that they all agree to that this is gonna happen on the
Right.
changes in January 1, then I would move approval of the 2020 benefits package.
Second the motion?
Motion and a second on to approve the benefits package. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Same sign, motion carries.
Okay.
Good work, Darren, thank you.
Thank you.
Committee reports. Jenny?
Thank you. Last week, I attended the Diversion Authority's land management meeting. We had a good discussion on the different property outreaches that are going on in the different neighborhoods, specifically the Christine area. So they will be continuing those outreaches, so I think that's important. Had just updates on from the Joint Water Resource District, updated the board on the North Dakota Quick Take process, and Senator Mathern from North Dakota came to discuss the possibility of incorporating some sort of state park into the rec plan, and so Director Paulson will be working mainly with the North Dakota contacts on that. But as we've said before at MetroCog, there are some opportunities for some recreational elements, and so hopefully they're able to incorporate that. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Kevin?
Yeah, I'm gonna just add, I was also at the land management meeting, and I know Commissioner Mojo, because you're on the MetroCog. One of the things in that presentation that they talked about was, you know, in the future, who might even own, you know, what that would look like in terms of recreation. And we had a meeting yesterday of our executive committee, and one of the concerns we have in talking about future ownership is the P3 contract that we have out there. Part of that contract means that whoever gets the P3 is also going to have to maintain it for 30 years. And so whatever plan might come out there in terms of potential ownership of recreational, it's got to meet, you know, the definition within the P3 contract. So I just bring that up just so you can maybe forward that concern in the future. But, so then on the 25th, Prairie Lakes Municipal Solid Waste, we had a meeting there, and everything is going well. The revenues over expenditures are where they need to be. We did receive some audit information, and everything is hunky-dory with the finances in that at that place. We did support, that group did support the Todd County's application for a CAP grant. You know, they also want to do a building similar to what we're looking at doing. Theirs isn't quite as much money as ours is. And of course, the board is also on record of supporting our goal with the transfer station here too. So then on the Wednesday, the 25th, that afternoon, I came back and went to the public outreach meeting, and we did get to see some. We have some updated information points. We talked about the Clomar. Joel was here this morning on. We saw some drone flyovers of the work that's being done on the inlet structure that's out there, so you can see, public can actually see there's work going on as we speak. And then the land management, I think Commissioner Mojo updated that quite well on that. The state park issue is something that you know, we talked again about yesterday too at the executive committee level, and we certainly think that that's, you know, from the standpoint of Norton, I'm kind of relaying what people on the Fargo and Cass County side are saying, is that you know, most of the state parks in North Dakota seem to be on the western side of the state, you know, and to have something in, you know, on the eastern part of the state for them is, well, it actually could be good for our residents in this area too, to be able to have a state park close by, but, so there's some interest there. It's a, you know, we've got to check out what that process is, to even be eligible for state park.
Commissioner Campbell, the one thing that I didn't say during the meeting, when they do these community outreach pieces, they talked about the Cass County engineer being present. Can you make sure whenever the Clay County equivalent ones come up
Yes.
that our engineer,
Yep. we can-
highway is represented?
Yep, we will do that. And then, Thursday, we had our, Joe referred to it as the MIC committee, and it is the MCC JPA, which is the Moore Clay County Joint Powers Authority that's been created for land acquisition for the project. And we had our meeting, and the one item of action that we did take was we passed a resolution for obtaining necessary rights to go on lands for determining easements and environmental situations. So, there is going to be, going forward, Commissioner Mojo, as you just mentioned, there's going to be some contacts, and we certainly will, you know, once we get into some issues, if it gets to be where engineers needed, we will certainly have our engineer there. And then that afternoon, we had the diversion authority meeting, and there was really no action items that were done on that particular day. Just getting updates from the various committees. Oh, we did have an update of the new financial plan that was reviewed. That was also talked about in some of our other committees in our outreach committee, but okay, then yesterday morning we had our executive chairs meeting, and I think I've talked about several of those things already. Talked a little bit about some items regarding the contested case hearing and those type of things. That's just ongoing. Then yesterday afternoon, we had our 2 construction projects, and I think I'm going to defer to our county administrator to kind of get into those. I know he didn't make the juvenile detention center one. That one, there's going to be a proposed change order that's going to put money back into the contractor contingency, because we took some money out of there thinking we had enough. Just right now, with all the proposed changes that are on the document, we're running $150,000 over our contingencies. That's between the owner and the contractor contingencies. However, we did hear yesterday about the potential for 2 other deals that were 15 grand apiece. So, yeah, so, but it's, not to be alarmed, I'm hoping to bring a report back to this board next week that shows the whole financial picture, where we are, and how we're going to be able to offset those costs without any additional levies being needed, so to speak. So I'll be working with Steve and Lori, and because we want to have that presentation ready for our regional group on the 17th as well. So I'll leave the rest up to you, Steve, to do, and that concludes my lots of paper meetings.
Thank you.
this week.
Right.
Yeah, on Tuesday at the criminal justice meeting, still the probation area, how they're trying to work with the judges and stuff like that and getting people going. They're doing some random testing, people that are waiting to be coming to trial. They're just going to be called to come in for testing, so they're working on that. Probation would like to get more involved with our truancy in high schools, but they only got 3 people assigned to that thing, so They'd like to get more people there, but they're working on that. It was just a lot of different things that they're working together on. I think it's really, this meeting of criminal justice is finally getting people together and saying not to duplicate stuff and stuff like that. So I think probation is really doing a good job on that. Wednesday, I went to Veterans Court, and I mean, I've gone to quite a few courts, drug court, Veterans Court, and stuff like that. I've never seen anybody so happy to graduate that day, you know. It's just, she was just so happy to graduate. I mean, just, I mean, I can see people probably being happy coming out of prison or something like that, but this gal was so happy to get her to go to the Veterans Court and being able to stay out of jail and stuff like that. And it was just a good celebration for that lady. Thursday, I went with Matt Jacobson up to the Felton Prairie. I think DNR is looking at purchasing some more land, and we'll have to get together with our land committee to see what kind of land we want to sell. If we do want to sell any land, and they're interested in buying some more, because I think we found some more butterflies, or they think they found some more butterflies up there. I don't know. I thought I slapped one on the way back to the car, but I don't know if I did or not. Friday, Partnership for Health. They need more. It was interesting to see how much money those people are bringing in on grants. You know, I mean, we're bringing over $3 million in federal and state grants in and stuff like that. So that group of Partnership for Health, those 4 counties working together, are really doing a good job. It was a good meeting, I guess. I don't really know. We didn't change anything other than that. We got some updates on what's all going on, but it was a good information meeting. That's October 15th, the meeting coming up October 15th. I'll be gone, so. Okay, that's my report.
Thank you. Tim?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On Wednesday, I attended the flood finance diversion funding meeting, and we heard a report about the funding and the various task orders and the percentage of completion they've gone through, contracting actions, and then we had a presentation about the timeline of how the financing of the flood diversion is going to take place over the next 8 years, and the tremendous amount of money that's going to be spent each year, roughly $100 million per year until it's completed. And we're already at, what, 600 million that we've spent so far, Commissioner Campbell? Something like that. We've spent 600 million so far, and we're going to have another, well over $1 billion before it's done, additional.
2.1 billion.
2.1, okay.
But, you know, a significant portion of that is federal money.
Yes. I was just referring to the North Dakota and Minnesota money.
Yep.
And Moorhead and Clay County together have requested $86 million in funding from the state legislature, $40 million for the city of Moorhead and $46 million for Clay County. And all available loan programs are being used, with 319 parcels acquired thus far, and negotiations ongoing for the rest of them. That's my report.
Thank you. I had Kevin reported on some of the meetings I had, also the Diversion Authority and the JPA meeting. The Prairie Lakes meeting, I think everything's going well there as usual. I think a lot of that credit goes to Commissioner Campbell. Because of his expertise with numbers, things are well on track there, and they weren't a few years ago. So, and then we had the jail detention meeting yesterday. I think we're a little bit behind on the jail, weren't we? Because of the elevator shaft and the flooding issue there, and they've been waiting for the right sump pump to come for that part of the project so they can get back on track. So that put us back a little bit, but other than that, I think it's going pretty well. So, Steve.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Last Tuesday after board, participated in a dispatch committee meeting where we discussed the values of our relationship with the dispatch center. We also, on the 10th of this month, will be meeting with local administrators and managers from the Fargo-Moorhead area to discuss the issue in greater detail. That afternoon, I met with the county attorney's office. County Attorney Melton recognized Pam Foss and his staff, but focused on Pam for her leadership while she was away on deployment. That afternoon, I met with Matt Jacobson from Planning and Zoning and Kent Severson on a couple of different issues out in Baker. On Wednesday, the Safety Committee ran through a series of drills in the Family Service Center. They were unannounced. This was about a year in the making, and so they went floor by floor throughout the entire day, and then had a debriefing with all the people that were involved. And I think it was very beneficial, one from the standpoint of going through the actions, but also we also found some real good things that we're doing. We found some things that we needed to work on. And so I was able to participate in about 2 of the different floors of that drill. I also participated in the drug court graduation along with Commissioner Gross. Again, fun to see them, hear them talk about their successes. Continue to meet with Mara Rauscha from the Public Defender's Office and Joe, and trying to find adequate space for the public defenders that we're moving with the addition of the 5th courtroom. I was able to talk with the Attorney General's office in regards to the opioid discussion, lawsuit that we've been having. They did confirm that they are only involved in 2 suits currently, one with Purdue and one against the Sackler family. The owners of Purdue are former owners. They stated that right now the Attorney General's office has not taken a formal opinion either way for cities and counties to join the lawsuit, although they feel that would be easier to work through their office rather than a variety of cities and counties. They also wanted to be clear that although they're only involved in the 2 lawsuits, that they're at the table of any ongoing settlement discussions, and not just with Purdue, but other pharmaceutical companies. If there's a favorable verdict or a settlement is reached, the state would provide the counties and cities monies, although they haven't determined how that would be distributed yet at this point. And so, and again, they wanted to be clear that all counties would receive distributions regardless of whether they participated in a lawsuit by themselves. So just wanted to pass that information along. I don't know if there's any other additional comments there or not. Okay, I participated in the Minnesota City-County JPA meeting that Commissioner Campbell and Whalen have addressed. I also attended the full board diversion meeting that afternoon. On the 27th, participated in the detox conversation with the director, Troy Amundson. He was recently notified that Otter Tail County is going to be moving forward with a private for-profit company to come into their care building to provide detox services. And so I'd asked Troy to put together some information of how that potentially would impact our master planning, if it would, as far as their needs for the future and what impacts that would be with counties such as Douglas County or surrounding areas that may utilize that facility rather than our own. On that later that day, we dealt with an issue with construction engineers. There was some concerns brought forward by some of the jail workers about some of the conditions, but we worked through those, I believe. Met with James O'Donnell on the different ideas. One that he brought forward today. Also, we'll have some committee meeting after this, and then potentially a PIC meeting on some of the different ideas that he has moving forward at the facility. Yesterday, we welcomed 10 new employees through new employee orientation, and so we got the opportunity to welcome them there. Participated in the Diversion Authority Chair meeting, and the law enforcement and corrections facility that afternoon. Commissioner Whalen has mentioned we're looking at moving into January. Part of January now is our occupation time, which creates a few different challenges as far as contracts for food and things like that they're going to have to work through. I was not able to participate in the juvenile center owners meeting because I did go through the 11-month warranty review of the corrections facility. I believe that the 22nd of October is when our warranty is up. I just do have to give a great deal of credit to Julie, Justin, and their staff. The correctional facility looks like the day that they moved in, and I know that that's something they've talked about that's extremely important to them, and making sure that they keep it up to date and clean, and it does look wonderful. And so just wanted to touch on that. The juvenile center, as Commissioner Campbell mentioned, we're going to be meeting this week to talk about kind of a financial plan. I know that's with some of the contingency issues that they've faced over there. It's been some challenges, and as Commissioner Campbell mentioned, I believe here in the next week he'll be able to come forward with a financial plan that will get us through the end of the project, and really strongly believe there won't to be any additional impacts to our member counties or Clay County. The state auditor's final report came out this past week. I did forward that report to you guys in an email form. Bob Johnson is looking to come here at one of our upcoming meetings, potentially as early as next week, next Tuesday, to go through the full findings with the board. We did receive an unmodified opinion, which is the goal of that audit, and so there are certainly some different things each year that we need to focus on, and so we'll also talk about those things. We received notification the District 4 AMC meeting will be in Fergus Falls October 25th. They're going to go with a little bit of a different format this time. We're going to be focusing on transportation and transportation funding. But AMC's finding is that the counties are all having different ways of what they feel is the best way to look at long-term funding for transportation. So we're trying to have some discussions to get more on the same page. They're going to continue with the updates, but the updates from each county are going to be over lunch. Working lunch, rather than having that kind of be one of our main focuses. So I have invited our county engineer along, and he will be there. So I reported last week we were scheduled to meet with master planning yesterday. Unfortunately, Klein McCarthy had only a portion of what they need or would like to have presented, and so they did push that meeting back until October 14th. So they'll have additional time to put their plan and presentation together. We generally on the county level for elections, we only provide information for our general election. We did have a citizen that was concerned with not having updated information for all of the referendums and special elections, and so we did go ahead and make that adjustment this year to our webpage. And so if you went there now, it has a variety of all the different elections that are coming up. I want to thank Lori and Tim DeForge for working hard and getting that taken care of. I think, lastly, just that Darren and I will be gone on this Thursday and Friday for our respective association annual conferences. So, and the last thing, you all got a map on your desk. Just a notification for our employees and our citizens. We have one more big project that we have to do that's going to impact our parking. If you look at the purple area, there's the mill and overlay that's going to be happening here in the next couple of weeks. The project, weather permitting, is going to take about 1 week, and so we're going to be asking our employees again to make some adjustments on where they are going to be parking, or the distance that they have to park and then walk around. They should be looking for an email from our parking committee. Specifically, I think will be coming from Darren here in coming days to give them the understanding and impacts of what that will be. And that concludes our report.
Kevin, you have something?
Yeah, in my report, I failed to mention too that I also attended that regional dispatch meeting last Tuesday afternoon.
Yeah, I did also, I guess. So.
And then I do agree this, I think we're gonna have one more week where there's gonna be real headaches when it comes to parking, but if they can just be patient, and we'll put up with it for one week, and we'll be
it has to be done.
back in good shape, so, thank you.
Anything else for the board? Colleen, anything else for us? For adjournment.